God?
Free will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready to start?
Sure. I've even got a position statement.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh,
We will
you're
yield
gonna-
the floor to Dennis, because
Yeah,
we don't
all
do
right.
that often enough
You're
anyway.
gonna start.
All right.
Now, just so everybody understands, I'm going to be moderating, and Russell and Dennis are going to be conducting most of the debate back and forth. It's not going to be formal, right?
Right.
Dennis has a position statement, but that's because he wanted to bring one.
Yeah.
But Matt and I will chime in with comments and questions and things as we see fit. So, go.
Okay. It seems to me that the purpose of free will is to assign responsibility for one's actions to the individual. This is done by claiming his choices are free of coercion and thus completely under his control. By this means, we assign credit and blame. For the religious, it's what the God judges us by. The problem is that we are machines. We are machines that just happen to be made of meat. The atoms and molecules of our bodies and brains act according to the same strict physical laws as do the gears and levers of your toaster. As such, strict physical law reigns supreme as the ultimate coercion, and the operation of our brains is well beyond our control. Consider, insane people are not held responsible for their actions, because their brains are formed in a certain way that's beyond their control. Yet we consider ourselves responsible for our actions, even though our brains are also formed a certain way that's equally beyond our control. How are we to claim credit for our actions when we refuse their claim to theirs? Indeed, we are programmed machines, claiming credit for the programmed actions we perform. Granted, we sometimes blame things like our computers when they misbehave, but we usually come to our senses and realize it's not actually the fault of the computer. We more reasonably place the blame on the programmer or manufacturer. We usually do not assign blame to computers and other machines because we know they're acting the only way they can. But since we are machines as much as the computer, why do we think we have the special ability to act other than the only way we can? Is it just because we're more complicated, and thus it's harder to trace the inevitable chain of cause and effect and see that we act only the way we can? You can see a little bit of your programming through the means of a simple experiment. Trace back the reasons for your motivations by playing the child's game of parroting the question why. Eventually, the answer you'll be forced to give will be something to the effect of, "That's just the way I am." That's the point where you can see your programming. That's the point where you run up against preferences and opinions that you did not choose. These preferences and opinions define who you are and the decisions you make, but you have no hand in them, just like a computer has no choice in its programming. So by what means do we not blame or credit the computer for its actions, while at the same time blaming and crediting ourselves for ours? We're robots programmed by circumstance. Free will is an illusion, or even less than an illusion. For something to be an illusion, you have to misinterpret an observation, but I can find no observation to misinterpret and call free will. When I poll my decision-making, I'm always mechanically weighing my preferences against my choices and reaching a conclusion. I don't see where the free will enters the picture. So with nothing to call free will, it's not even an illusion. It's just an assertion.
okay.
So, that's mine.
I didn't come with a prepared
I know that's
statement.
unfair.
So I'm going to be possibly a bit more rambling with that.
Okay, that's fine.
And I'm going to start out by agreeing with him.
We're done!
I may have to step in a lot sooner than I thought.
No. I'm going to agree with him on a particular point,
Okay.
which is something I think we all agree with in a way, which is we are machines.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to object to that?
No, we're kind of stuck with that given that we're atheists. And since
In a way.
most of our listeners are atheists, you're kind of stuck with that.
Well, atheists can believe in souls.
They
just can't believe in God.
They can, but the vast majority don't.
That's true.
Yeah, when I say that we're machines, I mean that we don't have a magical dualistic thing inside of us that confers something we call intelligence on us We are basically created by our genes, which were programmed, so to speak, through millions of years of natural selection.
Mm-hmm.
And to that extent, I agree that we are machines. Where I don't agree with you is your assumption that because we are machines, that means that there is no such thing as free will. Now, what I came here wanting to talk about today was my past reading on artificial intelligence, or as Wikipedia told me, they prefer to call it now, synthetic intelligence.
Synthetic intelligence, cool. SI.
So I'm going to come at the issue of free will sort of from a tangent, and even I don't know when I'm actually going to intersect with the topic yet.
Ooh,
oh boy.
Well, try to do it quicker rather than slower.
All right.
Yeah,
We're
because
already running over.
I need to address Dennis too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you want a moment to maybe think about the way you want to do this and have Matt jump in?
No, I know some things I'm going to say.
Okay, go for it.
And I will interrupt myself at some point and give Matt a chance. When people talk about artificial intelligence, there are actually two kinds of things that they talk about. One is what is commonly called artificial intelligence today, which is just some specific programs that perform some specific tasks.
Right.
Like play chess.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Blue kicked the ass of Kasparov several years ago, but that doesn't mean that Deep Blue was in any way intelligent, any more than it means that a car is exhibiting more intelligence when it kicks the ass of our fastest runner. It just means that it was really good at that specific task. True artificial intelligence, or what is referred to as strong AI, would be a computer that, like data, experiences some kind of self-awareness and freedom of action, if such a thing exists. Like, as I said, data on Star Trek. Now, that's a big controversy. People aren't sure that such a thing exists or ever will. I take the opinion, and I think Dennis would probably himself agree with me, that to the extent that humans are intelligent and self-aware, computers can, in principle, do exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Eventually. And I would go a step further and say the things that computers do right now that are claimed to be artificial intelligence, like win chess games, are qualitatively different, recognizably different from what we would recognize as an intelligent human.
I will accept that for the sake of this argument. Sure.
Okay, recognizably to us.
Yeah.
Alan Turing, 50 years ago, or I forget the exact time, but Alan Turing is one of the fathers of modern computing, and he came up with something that's now known as the Turing test, which is you put a person in front of a chat program, you tell them they're either talking to a human or a computer, you ask them to make a judgment call, which it is, and if they can be put in front of a computer program and fooled into believing that they're talking to a human, then that computer is intelligent. I don't accept the Turing test anymore either. Mm-hmm. There was a program in the 70s called ELIZA, which simulated a psychiatrist and gave the most astonishingly dense answers, just basically leading the user along and saying, how do you feel about that? Tell me more about this thing you said. And people were fooled into thinking they were talking to a real person. Now, that's not a true Turing test because basically they weren't told that they might be talking to a computer. But I have no doubt that computer programs can trick people into thinking that they're people and still not be considered intelligent. Mm-hmm. However, to me, it's really obvious that the stuff that goes on in my head involves deciding whether to turn left or right at a stoplight, and that there is something going on in my brain that is significant and matters and can change the outcome. And I think it's fair to call that free will. I think the ability to be intelligently self-aware and make choices is referred to as free will, and we can all act as though, as we all do, in fact, act as though it's a free choice. And I think that to say that free will doesn't exist is just to haggle over definitions, while still acting as if we're doing things that matter.